What's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So I've got an update for you guys on the tropics. So right now we have two tropical cyclones that are now hurricanes. We have Hurricane Margot and Hurricane Lee. The most part of this video, we are going to be talking about Hurricane Lee here, giving guys one of these daily updates on Lee. I apologize for not being able to upload yesterday and then a few days ago, just because my schedule, getting back to school, working with school, so it's a lot of stuff to, you need. It takes a lot of time, free time, to be able to do these updates for you guys, but for now, we have Hurricane Lee right here. It is a Category 2 hurricane, I believe, with maximum sustained winds around 105 miles an hour. So it's still a very, very strong storm, but you can see it's passing pretty close to Bermuda right now. Expected to stay off the coast of the Northeast, but big impacts are expected. We now know exactly where the storm will be going, and we will be talking about these impacts now as we have all of our information. So we've taken a big jump of kind of finding out where this thing is going, and then now we know exactly what's going to happen pretty much. Margot right here, in case you guys were wondering, it's a Category 1 hurricane, I believe, yep, with maximum sustained winds at around 90 miles an hour, all right? And this is not Invest 97L, all right? In terms of this storm possibly hitting land, I'm not concerned, okay? But in terms of this becoming a hurricane, I'm very concerned because the models have been consistent about this thing growing to a pretty big hurricane here, and we already have a 80% chance of tropical development throughout the next 4 to 8 hours. So that means that there is a high, very, very high chance that by tomorrow or sometime, I think we're going into Friday, that we could have a tropical depression on our hands. So this could be a storm that could get near the United States, but I really don't think that this is going to be something to worry about in terms of people getting hit. So I think after Lee, we should be done. All right, so we'll move on to our satellite loop for Hurricane Lee right here. All right, Lee is just getting sheared apart right now. Excuse me. It is entering a uncomfortable, just area in terms of strengthening and development of tropical systems. You can see it's got a very, very wide and big eye, but it's this northwestern side. There's a big hole in it. There's a big gap. All right, that shows strengthening. Look at all these rain bands getting sheared off. I know there's a lot of rain bands going on here, but these will get sheared off soon. All right, but the storm is starting to expand, so that shows weakening here. But you can see that that it's got a lot of moisture to deal with. All right, you can see there's a lot of convection still going on in that eastern side of the storm. All right, but when we see this area of convection that the storm's popping off here, once it gets to this point here, once it rotates around the storm, I think that's going to be one of our major time points of weakening, because it enters that unfavorable side, you could say, of I guess just strengthening or development. But otherwise, it just pretty much looks like a disorganized hurricane here. But it's just doing its thing out there, turning north. It has started to turn north. That's our critical turn. If it did not turn north, I am telling you guys, we'd have a totally different scenario. But the dynamics have lined up perfectly for the storm to miss the areas we don't want to get hit. All right. But that brings us to our 5-day outlook here. This is our 5-day cone. All right. And you can see that so far the good news is that most of the mainland of the Northeast is out of the cone, but you do have some parts of southeastern Maine. Our folks out here in Maine, you guys are in that cone, and there are, believe it or not, there are hurricane watches up for Maine. I mean, when was the last time a hurricane made direct landfall on Maine? I mean, it sounds crazy, but this is what's going to go on with Lee here. All right, but outside of that cone, we still have tropical storm watches that go down all the way through the New Hampshire coastline, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and then this stops right here along this island that's just outside of eastern Long Island. All right, so that is including the entire Cape Cod region that goes all the way up into the Boston area. I think actually, believe it or not, Boston is actually under a tropical storm watch for now. The reason that is because you are going to probably see some relatively heavy rainfall, but those wind gusts are the main concern, and you could really get power outages with that. But you can see Bermuda is close enough to that eye center here that you guys have tropical storm warnings up. Expect some pretty big impacts from Lee, starting at around pretty much just the middle of the night tomorrow night. I think really around dinner time tomorrow night, you guys out in Bermuda could really start getting those big impacts. But again, you have tropical storm watches going down the northeastern coast, and then for you guys in eastern Maine, the coastline, you guys have hurricane watches. So we go now to our GFS model outlook. This is our 18Z GFS. Just show you guys what the track of the storm is going to be looking like. So you can see Lee's right here. All right, you got a lot of big rotation with the system, and it shows the GFS shows something weird. All right. Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought we saw a 955 millibars, but we still have 965 millibar Category 2 hurricane. Starts moving north. It's not really weakening all that much, but that trough is already back here. All right. So I think that there is a very, very small chance. I'm telling you, there's a very small chance that if the storm moves slower, all right, it slows down a little bit, all right, it could have a chance to turn a little bit farther west. It's really trying to move farther west, all right? So if it does, we could get a path like this, all right? That would put all you folks out here, I wouldn't even say New Jersey, but I would say pretty much all you folks in southern New England going into those interior parts of southern New England you could definitely get a lot bigger impacts here from Lee. All right, but so far we're gonna see it's showing that Lee will start to pick up the pace as it gets picked up by that trough, but also starts moving north. All right, and then the trough kind of disappears here, and you notice Lee is actually barely hanging on to that trough. So if Lee at this point is strong enough, it will probably turn west at this point. But it's still connected with that trough, and there's high pressure out here, which is keeping those two things are both keeping Lee out from going into the United States until we get to here. That ridging disappears. All right, and so now the doors are open for Lee to go right into Maine. All right, because it can't really go due west. So you guys out here are pretty much done with those impacts along the I-95 corridor down into the Delmarva area and just the Mid-Atlantic in general. You guys are done with those impacts, but watch out for you guys in Maine because you can see the storm starts making a abrupt turn west. All right, and all of a sudden it's looking like those areas that might have got spared along the coast, they all of a sudden are right in the way of the storm. So now at this point, we're concerned for a second round of impacts from Lee. All right, we get our first initial impacts. This is pretty late on Saturday. You're waking up Sunday thinking like the storm is over, but it's almost coming back here, and you're getting even more rain farther into Massachusetts coastline, meaning that you're going to get also some stronger winds out there. Then the storm also appears to be heading right for Maine. And so we're getting into this is pretty much I would say this would be anywhere from just around the dinner time kind of time frame out here in Maine. I apologize for the background noises if you heard any, but now we're gonna definitely get those really strong hurricane force winds out in that southeastern part of Maine. So don't be scared out there. I know some of you might be a little concerned about this because you haven't really gone through this from a direct hit by a hurricane. But just remember, as long as you're inside your house, away from windows, if any trees fall, you're fine, all right? And just wait for the storm to pass. And if the winds get too dangerous to the point where trees are coming down, just go into your basement or just the lowest level of your house. And if you need to, go in the closet or the bathroom or something. I mean, it's as long as you're staying safe and you're not going outdoors or in your garage or on your porch, you're going to be okay, all right? And if you lose power, just, don't freak out. Just just keep it calm, and then you can obviously you can report some serious damage to houses and stuff, but that's just other stuff. All right. But now we're getting into Monday, and the storm has advanced now to Nova Scotia. Now you guys get some tropical storm impacts from Lee here, and then at that point, Lee is the next tropical storm, and it pretty much does its thing. But we are going to certainly get some pretty big impacts all the way up, down from the way out here in the eastern Long Island coastline, all the way up towards Maine and then Nova Scotia, as well. So a lot of big impacts for a lot of areas are on the way. In just a few days. Really, once we get to this weekend, by Friday, we'll start getting some pretty strong wind and some pretty big impacts. So we now look at our winds here. So we've now seen the track of the storm. Now let's look at how strong these winds will be. All right. So here comes Lee. It's coming up the coast. Notice how right away these coastal uh, regions up and down the eastern coastline are all seeing winds at least these are around winds at around 35 miles per hour. Right, this goes all the way up towards Massachusetts, and you're still a day away from landfall. All right, and so here you go. You're starting to get your winds here. All right. Oh, we're getting into this is around 8 p.m. Saturday. All right, so you're getting into Saturday night, and here you go. You start seeing the Cape Cod region right here. You got sustained winds around 50 miles an hour. This is where you'll see the hurricane force winds. All right, you got sustained winds just outside of Cape Cod. This is literally just 50 miles out from Cape Cod, at around 60, 70 miles per hour, and then you still have very, very strong winds all the way up the coastline here. This goes all the way up into Maine, and then here in southwestern Nova Scotia, you could start seeing those hurricane force winds as soon as 8 a.m. Saturday. All right, so you're waking up Saturday, and you could really wake up to some pretty strong winds, especially out there in Nova Scotia. All right, but even notice how these winds, the wind field is huge from Lee, and we have winds that could be gusting up to 40 miles an hour all the way out toward Long Island. All right, so even you guys in southern New England that aren't getting directly impacted can certainly feel some pretty strong winds from the system. I doubt that you'll get any rainfall. I think it's going to be mainly sunny, but I think you'll definitely get some relatively strong winds. So it might even be a chilly day out there in the Northeast. But we're getting into now. So we're getting into Sunday night or Saturday night. Excuse me. We're getting to. I guess this would be around midday Saturday. All right, and the storm is now at this point going to turn into Maine. All right, and so you're thinking right here on Cape Cod. All right, that was pretty big impact, so it's pretty tough. But I think the winds are going to start settling down now. They're at around 40 miles an hour, gusting to 50. All right, but pretty much you can see that's what we see here on early Saturday, and then the storm starts coming into parts of Maine. All right, and so you get another day's worth or half a day's worth of rain and wind. All right, and then this goes into Nova Scotia, still bringing some pretty big waves for sure. Heavy rainfall, very heavy rainfall, in fact, and some very strong winds. All right, so that's it for your winds. All right, so we now look at our projected rainfall totals here. All right, this is not very concerning. You can see outside of the cone here in the Boston area, all the way up through Maine here and coastal regions of New Hampshire. We're expecting around 1 to 2 inches of rain for you guys. All right, now we go into the green zone, where you've got dark green here, including the Cape Cod region, coastal regions of Massachusetts, goes all the way into Maine, a lot of eastern Maine out here, a lot of Atlantic Canada, and then pretty much all of Nova Scotia. We're expecting around 2 to 4 inches of rain to fall on you guys, all right? This is outside everybody on land, but just realize here that there are some areas that the storm's going to pass over here. This is going to be over water. But the Lee will definitely drop up to 10 inches of rain on those areas. And if this does take a little bit farther west, that means that you guys out here in Cape Cod, Nantucket, all of you guys could suddenly be included in the 4 to 6 range, which would really raise flash flooding concerns. But I still think coastal flooding is going to be a huge thing, especially out there in Cape Cod. You guys got to watch out. Also, here in Maine, remember, the storm is rotating in a counterclockwise direction, which means it's pushing these waves and swells up into the coastline, all right? So, you really definitely got to watch out for that all the way up and down the coast. Even out here in southern New England, watch out for some big waves at least. Same thing for you guys. I would say more for southwestern Nova Scotia rather than the central part. But really, those coastal regions are really going to get hit hard by at least. So now we're going to be looking at the GFS model for the wide view Atlantic. So just want to look at, what's going to be after late. I feel like every day, every time we get a hurricane or a tropical storm and we figure out where it's going, then we always want to look at what's going to go on after that. All right. So here goes Lee, here goes Margot. They're doing their thing. All right. But here's Invest 97L. It quickly develops. We're getting into, this is early Saturday, all right? And we already have a full-on tropical depression. Then we got a tropical storm on our hands, potentially as soon as, even just Saturday morning, all right? So just 2 days from now, we might even have a tropical storm. This would be, I believe, Nigel. Yeah, Nigel is the next name on the list. So this is pretty much going to be Nigel right here. And let's see what Nigel does. It is a hurricane at this point, 975 millibar hurricane as soon as Monday. I really think even as soon as late Sunday, you could get a full-on hurricane out of future tropical cyclone Nigel. All right, but this is what's keeping it away from the United States, which is a big factor. All right, it's this high pressure. It's very weak. It's only 1,019 millibars. So since this is still 102 hours out, this could be weak enough to move somewhere, or it could weaken to the point where the storm, where Nigel will be able to move past it. All right, that could be something that could allow Nigel to get a little closer to the United States. But this is so far what's appearing to what's helping steer Nigel away. And all of a sudden, you see it's gone. It's not there anymore. Okay, and so Nigel does have some room. It keeps going closer and closer to the United States. So if it were to keep this trajectory, you would think that it'd go like that. All right? But we don't see that because you have most likely will be another ridge, or I wouldn't say ridge, I guess, trough. All right? That's pushing down and swinging through the eastern U.S. And behind it, you have some high pressure ridging that's very strong. All right? What does that do? It picks up the storm. It picks up Nigel. All right? And at this point, Nigel's a very strong hurricane. All right? But it picks up Nigel and it takes it out to sea. And then behind it, a huge, pretty much brick wall, all right, of high pressure is keeping the Northeast especially out of the clouds for pretty much any tropical cyclone to enter. All right? And so that's going to keep everything out for a long time, all right? But we don't really see much activity after Nigel. So I think once Nigel is done, it's really up until early October is when I really do think that we'll have the last tick uptrend of tropical development. But Nigel, I really don't think is going to be that concerning to land. All right, it's still pretty far out, so we don't know what's exactly going to happen. But so far, the forecast is looking like this will just be a fish storm. It's not really going to bother anybody. Maybe some impacts out here to Atlantic Canada, reaching as far out as Nova Scotia. That could be a weird path. But it's going to be another. It's looking like it's going to be another one of those storms where it just goes out to sea. So I just want to show you this for a second here. I just want to go to pivotal weather here and show you guys just, the map for our alerts here in the Northeast, because I just want to show you how far inland the tropical storm watches and warnings go. All right. And so look here at our alerts, and then we'll zoom into the Northeast so we can get a better look at things here. All right. 1 second. All right, so we'll go to regions here. And then we'll pick the northeast. Alright. I apologize for the slowness of the video. Alright, so you can see here that our hurricane watch, it's in this pinkish purple area, and it does appear this will just be out for the coastal regions of Maine. All right, but this does go into a little bit into the southeastern part of Maine, but really it's just those coastal regions that we're concerned about. All right, the rest of you guys, just outside of that hurricane watch, you have tropical storm watches. All right, this is what goes down all the way from eastern eastern Maine, down the coast, all right, and then down into the Massachusetts coastline, and then also down through Rhode Island, okay? But you can see that there are quite a few counties out there in Massachusetts that are included in that tropical storm watch. This includes all of Cape Cod. That area goes all the way into this region of Massachusetts, but it does actually appear now that the Boston area is not under a tropical storm watch. So I don't know for sure, but I think by tomorrow there's a chance that you guys actually will be under a tropical storm watch. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you also, you have a lot of gale warnings out there. You have a lot of marine warnings out there. That's just because those seas are going to be very, very rough. All right, but I know the governor of New York has declared a state of emergency just in case we get some bigger impacts than we're expecting out here on Long Island. All right, that just means that he wants everyone to make sure that they're staying safe just in case the storm kind of goes into the coastline a little bit more. And I'm pretty sure that that's the same for Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and just these regions. All right, so that's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So just stay safe out there with Lee. Just buckle up, get ready for Lee to come in. All right, it should be pretty much just 2 days long. It's really not that bad. It could have been worse here. But I would say the top wind speeds you could get are probably going to be around 100 miles an hour. So I know that sounds like a lot, but really you just got to stay safe, and I'm guaranteeing you will be fine. All right. So thanks so much for coming to watch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.